Well, let's go to the final game in the SEC on this preview show, and one of the biggest games of the week too. One of the final game between ranked teams here on the show. Number 3, Texas A&M at number 20 LSU, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. A&M with another opportunity to prove itself in this one. Their first 7-0 start since the 1994 season, and they're ranked number 3 in the latest AP poll, tied for his highest ranking in 50 years for Texas A&M. But the Aggies only have one win over a top 25 team, which was a 1-point win over 8th-ranked Notre Dame in Week 2. A&M has another shot to prove themselves as legitimate national title contenders this year when they play LSU this week on the road, number 20 LSU right now. LSU, by the way, like Texas, is pretty much one loss away from being effectively eliminated from college football playoff contention with 2 losses so far this year.
Yeah, it's really I don't think, especially after beating Clemson, although what we know about Clemson now is different, but after beating Clemson week 1, we pretty much were like, oh, LSU's got the inside track now. They look pretty good to go to the playoff. The defense is better. We've been begging for 2 years for the defense to be better, and the secondary's been one of the best secondaries in the country, especially. They lose to Vandy last week at Vandy. Couldn't stop the run. Was it 247 rushing yards in that game, you said? I mean, now you have a trench problem here, I think, with LSU that's caused them now to lose 2 games. So you get a third one, and I know LSU's got some good wins, but some of those good wins don't look as good as they used to either now. South Carolina, Clemson, right? So they need this in the worst way, or their season pretty much is shot. And A&M trying to stay undefeated, trying to stay in the top 5 of the country, in first place in the SEC, or they're the last undefeated team in the SEC. Let's not forget. So it's a big game at Death Valley for A&M, but for LSU, the urgency could not be higher going into this.
You mentioned the trenches, and obviously it's a big trench matchup this week for LSU because they got Cassius Howell coming to town, who's one of the best edge rushers in the country.
Yeah, I mean, Howell is the star, and this A&M pass rush as a group is pretty good, but he's the guy that you worry about first and foremost. 91.3 pass rush grade, 32 pressures, 8 sacks. He's just simply been the best pass rusher in the SEC this year, and one of the 4 or 5 best pass rushers in the country, without question. You've got him. You've got Deion Hayes on the other side. You've got Mike Elko drawing things up front. This team is still really good running the football, or stopping the run, I should say. I have an extreme level of worry based on what we've seen the last 2 weeks, and now that LSU starting left tackle Tyree Adams, he's going to most likely be out for this game after getting hurt in the Vanderbilt game last week. So you're going to get DJ Chester at left tackle, who's got a 56 pass blocking grade, and then Weston Davis at right tackle struggled all year. He's got a 40 pass blocking grade for the season. This is a major worry for me with the way that LSU's pass blocking has collapsed. Their pass blocking grade as a team, again, the last 2 weeks has been below a 45 in both games, right? And South Carolina, yes, they have Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas. And, last week, Vandy, I think that might have been the most surprising part is, look, Nussmeier tried to do everything he could under pressure, but he is not the quarterback like Jaden Daniels used to be, where he's going to run around and make plays happen outside the pocket. And he made some things happen outside the pocket against Vanderbilt. A&M's pass rush is a major step up, even from a Vandy unit that's been pretty good. Cassius Howell, Deion Hayes in this pass rush off the edge, especially the interior, I think they can survive, although I think they're really going to struggle to run the ball on Albert Regis and Torian York and those guys on the inside in the middle, which is a problem. We've talked about LSU. Got to find a run game, have to find it somewhere, but if Nussmeier has to drop back 50-plus times again, I am so worried about this offensive tackle situation against these edge rushers for A&M.
So normally in our previews that we do, it's usually, okay, this is a major advantage for one team over another. This one I'm going to talk about, this is going to be an awesome matchup. A&M's receivers against LSU's secondary is the most star-studded battle that we have in Week 9. The best part of A&M's offense this year has been its receiving core, thanks in large part to a couple of transfers. Mario Craver from Mississippi State is a midseason All-American for PFF. He's a true sophomore, second among all Power 4 receivers in receiving yards with 668 this year, and he leads all Power 4 receivers this year with 4.31 yards per route run. And his teammate, Casey Concepcion from NC State, is 19th among all wide receivers in the country in receiving grade this year. Dalton, there's only 2 other duos in the nation who have 2 receivers in the top 20 of receiving grade. You want to take a guess?
Yeah, all right. Smith and Tate.
Yep.
Smith and that was the easy one.
Also in the Big Ten. If you want
also in the Big Ten. It's going to be Cooper and Surratt.
Yep.
Okay, nailed it. Two best teams in the country.
That's it. That's it. You got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate's going to be a first-round pick this year. Jeremiah Smith might be the number 1 overall pick next year. And then you got Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. for Indiana. So the 2 best teams in the country, and number 3, Texas A&M. It's no mistake that those 3 teams are top 3 teams in the country. All 3 of them have outstanding receiving cores.
Well, you just made wide receivers a lot of money is what you just did.
I just did. Absolutely.
Man, you want to be one of the 3 best teams in the country, have 2 great receivers. There you go.
That helps.
That's a pretty good case right there.
It certainly helps. But in this game, LSU has an elite secondary right now. The best part of their defense has been their secondary. Again, like Texas A&M, thanks to some transfers they got this year. Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech. He was our midseason Jim Thorpe Award winner as the best defensive back in college football. He has been pretty easily the most valuable defensive back in college football this year, according to PFF's wins above average metric. His teammate at safety, A.J. Halsey from Houston, is 9th among all safeties in the country this year with an 87.9 coverage grade. So again, like I mentioned before, we usually talk about, okay, this team has a huge advantage here. I don't know who has the advantage in this matchup, but it's going to be an awesome battle between A&M's receivers and LSU's secondary.
LSU's secondary is the biggest reason they're 5-2. That's just a fact. I know they have Nussmeier and Trey'Dez Green, a lot of big-name receivers, but their secondary, the improvement on defense, their ability to prevent explosive plays and deep passes on defense is the biggest reason they are still in this race and can, if they win this game, continue to stay in it. Much improved from the last couple of years, as we've talked about. Now it's more of an offensive issue for LSU, but that secondary, you mentioned it with Halsey, with Cooley, with Woodland and Pickett and Delane. I mean, you could get a Thorpe Winner Award out of the LSU Tigers this year, but no, absolutely. I think it's also going to be on Marcel Reed to handle Blake Baker in these pressure packages and just not turn the football over. 10 big-time throws, 7 turnover-worthy plays this year for Marcel Reed, but his passing grade is 11 points higher against the blitz than it is against a standard rush. So curious to see how Blake Baker handles that. They struggled with a mobile quarterback in Diego Pavia last week. Got another one coming in Marcel Reed who can make plays with his legs as well.
So ultimately, Dalton, will Texas A&M continue their undefeated record right now and also kill LSU's playoff hopes, or will LSU end A&M's undefeated season and also continue their playoff hopes?
It's going to be a fun battle because you do have 2 really good defenses, right? And I think a big factor in this game, obviously it's the Death Valley night game thing, so It's probably unwise to pick against just that factor sometimes, but I feel like Texas A&M has a distinct advantage in the trenches on both sides. LSU's offensive line is banged up, and again, I'm extremely worried about the offensive tackles. And I know Nussmeier gets rid of the ball quickly, but he's been getting hit so much, and you can't get rid of the ball in 2 seconds flat on every play, can you? I mean, it's kind of that thing, right? And then on the other side, with this A&M run defense, with those edge rushers, with Albert Regis at D tackle, with Torian York and Scooby Williams at linebacker, and with LSU already struggling to run the ball on basically anybody, how are they going to run the football on this team?
Yeah.
And is it just going to be, oh, Garrett Nussmeier, save us? Because that's what last year's A&M LSU game turned into, was Marcel Reed came in, he took over the offense, they started humming in both dimensions, and then it was Garrett Nussmeier, save us, and didn't he throw, 3 interceptions in that game?
Yeah.
I mean, I fundamentally right now, and I love the secondary, and you love Nussmeier, and Trey'Dez Green's a monster, he's going to get his, but fundamentally I just have issues in the trenches on both sides with LSU. I'm taking Texas A&M on the road 24-21.
I have A&M as well. I have it 27-23. The Aggies winning this game. Like you mentioned before, a lot like South Carolina's offense, the Tigers' offense is very reliant on their quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier to carry them to victory right now, and I think they'll be too reliant on them in this game, and I think Texas A&M, with their balanced offense, and yes, even if LSU's secondary wins the battle, you still got to deal with that run game for A&M too, with Ruben Owens and Marcel Reed at quarterback too, and all the great running backs they have at Texas A&M, and that offensive line, which has been pretty good this year too. I think A&M with their balanced offense against LSU's defense, and then also with LSU's offense being so reliant on Garrett Nussmeier with a really struggling offensive line right now. If Cassius Howell coming to town, this is not a great matchup for LSU in this game. So I have A&M winning this game, remains the only undefeated team in the SEC, and for the 5th straight season, LSU's playoff hopes will evaporate.
And say it for what it is, in every FBS game they've played this year, including one against Louisiana Tech, they have scored 24 points or less. It's that simple. I mean, even when they were winning, it was 17-10, it was 20-10, it was 20-10 again against South Carolina. Even when they were winning low-scoring games. It is very hard to win when you know, and this is the concern I have with Oklahoma. It's the obvious concern that South Carolina, that's why their season's basically over. You can't score more than 24 points. If you know you're only scoring 17 to 20 points, it just gets so hard to ask your defense to do that every week. And think about it. You just mentioned the battle of the receivers in the secondary. Secondary's great. But those two guys are pretty great also.
Yeah.
And if they start making plays the way we know they can, then what's the answer? And you mentioned it. With Le'Veon Moss hurt, Reuben Owens has been good. E.J. Smith was good last week. Reed can run the football. A&M's got options here. They've got a lot of options. And, again, I think the advantages they have in the trenches make the difference.
So both have A&M winning this game. It should be an awesome game on Saturday night between Texas A&M and LSU.